The planet Kirin 9 was cold, silent, and dangerous. Far from any star, its surface was covered with sharp black rocks, boiling lava pools, and sudden earthquakes. Not many came here. Only deep space miners, desperate for rare minerals, dared to land. Even they came with fear. The locals called it the Screaming Planet, because sometimes the wind carried strange sounds, like crying or growling from deep underground. That's where it began. During a mining mission, an accident happened. A giant blast cracked open one of the planet's hidden caves. Out came something that no one expected. A creature, huge, wounded, and terrifying, stumbled into the open. It was covered in hard scales and glowing lines, like veins of fire. It was nearly 25 feet tall and walked on 4 legs, dragging one of them behind. It had deep wounds from falling rocks. Its face was strange. Sharp eyes, 2 long horns, and a heavy jaw. The miners screamed and called for help. The Galactic Council received the emergency signal. Ships from different species rushed to the site. When they saw the creature, they stopped. Most were shocked. Some recognized what it was. "A Vork," whispered a Threxian captain. "They're supposed to be extinct. Long ago, the Vork species was known for their size and power. Old stories told that they were dangerous, wild, and unstoppable in battle. Other species feared them, but the truth was mostly unknown. No one had seen a Vork for hundreds of years. Now one stood wounded on Kirin 9, struggling to breathe. The council quickly made a decision: leave it. They claimed it was too dangerous. Some said, "It might attack, it's not worth the risk." Others simply didn't care. One by one, the ships turned back, leaving the creature behind, alone and bleeding. Everyone left, except the humans. A small ship named the Sparrowhawk received the report late. It was a human science and rescue vessel. The crew was on a mission to study rare plants on a nearby moon. But when Captain Mara Quinn read the message, something didn't sit right. She looked at her crew. "A creature is wounded. Everyone ran." "But we're not everyone." Her pilot, Juno, hesitated. "But it's a Vork, Captain. Big, dangerous. Even the council refused to help." Mara leaned forward, her voice steady. "If it's really that dangerous, then we have a duty to understand why. If it's suffering, we have a duty to help. That's what humans do." The crew nodded. Nervous but loyal, they changed course and flew straight into Kirin 9's stormy atmosphere. Landing wasn't easy. The planet fought them with violent winds and shaking ground. But the Sparrowhawk touched down safely, just 2 miles from the last known location of the creature. They moved carefully. Mara led the group with Dr. Elias Chen, the ship's medic. With them came 2 engineers, a biologist, and a robot named Hex. They wore protective suits and carried scanners, lights, and medical kits. The landscape was rough, twisted rocks and rivers of lava. The heat was intense. Then they saw it. The creature lay in a shallow valley, its body half buried in broken stones. One leg was clearly broken. Its breathing was slow but deep. Its eyes opened as the humans came closer. Dr. Chen raised his scanner. "Heart rate low, major blood loss, bone fractures, but it's alive." The others looked nervous. One engineer whispered, "Maybe we should leave. It could wake up and—" Mara raised her hand. "No, look at its eyes. It's watching us, but not attacking. If it wanted to hurt us, it already could." They moved closer. Gently, they used their tools to remove the stones. The creature groaned, not loud. It sounded more like a tired sigh. Mara spoke softly. "We're not here to harm you. We just want to help." Of course, the creature didn't respond, but it also didn't fight back. Over the next 2 hours, the crew worked hard. They cleaned the wounds, injected healing gel, and wrapped the broken leg with a strong support frame. Hex the robot sprayed cooling mist to lower the fever-like heat around its body. Dr. Chen even fed the creature a soft energy paste through a long tube. The creature flinched but accepted the food. It was strange, almost peaceful. Night came fast on Kirin 9. The crew set up a camp nearby. They took turns watching the creature. They named it Gorek. Around the small fire, the team talked. "Why would such a powerful creature be left behind?" asked Juno. "Maybe because they don't see what we see," said Mara. "They see a monster. I see someone in pain." Dr. Chen nodded. "And someone who didn't choose to be trapped here." The next morning, something amazing happened. When Mara approached with water, Gorek raised its head slightly and blinked slowly. She stopped. Then, slowly, Gorek lowered its head again. "A sign of trust?" she asked. Dr. Chen smiled. "Maybe." In the following days, trust grew. Gorek didn't try to run. It didn't growl. Instead, it listened. It watched. It even shifted its body to help them treat the wounds better. It was learning, adapting. They tried to teach it basic symbols. A circle for food, a triangle for friend. Gorek responded, slow but clear. Meanwhile, the council sent warnings. "Humans, stand down. You are putting your lives in danger. Withdraw immediately." But Mara ignored them. She sent back her own report. "Subject Gorek shows high intelligence, shows no signs of hostility, injured and cooperative. We will not abandon it." That report went viral. Some species mocked them. Others were quietly impressed, but the humans didn't care. They weren't doing it for attention. They were doing it because no one else would. One evening, as the sky turned deep orange and Kirin 9's twin moons rose, Gorek lifted its head and made a sound. Not a roar, not a growl. It was deep and soft, like a long hum. The humans looked at each other. Dr. Chen whispered, "Is it singing?" Mara smiled. "Or remembering?" No one knew what the future held, but in that moment, under two glowing moons, something special had begun. A connection, a friendship, a bond that would change everything the galaxy thought it knew. The camp beside Gorek had become more than just a rescue site. It had turned into a place of quiet understanding between two different worlds. The humans had built temporary shelters, set up solar lights, and even created a clear path to bring supplies from their ship. But still, each time the crew approached Gorek, they moved with care and calm. Captain Mara Quinn stood at the edge of the valley one morning, watching the massive alien creature sleep. Gorek's chest rose and fell slowly. His wounds were healing, faster than expected, especially the broken leg. Dr. Elias Chen had developed a treatment using human nanogel mixed with Kirin 9 minerals. Somehow Gorek's body accepted it without reaction. It was almost like he was built to survive everything, except being forgotten. "Captain," said Juno, walking up beside her, "I think he's starting to trust us." Mara nodded. "He hasn't shown fear or aggression. He watches, listens, he's learning." That afternoon, they made more progress. Dr. Chen brought a simple communication board with lights. Each button had a symbol: food, water, help, pain, friend, danger. He placed it near Gorek's claw. Mara crouched nearby. "Try pressing this, Gorek," she said gently, pointing to the friend symbol, a soft green triangle. At first, Gorek didn't move. He stared at the board, blinking slowly. Then his large claw slowly reached forward and tapped the green triangle. The light blinked. The humans froze. Then Mara smiled. "That's right. Friend." Gorek let out a quiet sound. It wasn't a growl. It was almost like a sigh of relief. Each day after that, Gorek grew stronger. He stood for longer periods, even took a few slow steps. The support frame helped stabilize his injured leg. When they gave him food, He pressed the thank you symbol after eating. It was no longer about survival. It was now about connection. One night under the stars, Dr. Chen sat by the fire with the team. "I think Gorak understands more than we realize," he said. "His brain scans show complex neural patterns. He's not just reacting, he's thinking." Juno added, "He saved one of the drones yesterday, pulled it back before it fell into lava. That wasn't instinct, that was awareness." Mara stayed quiet for a moment. "I think he knows we're different from the others. The council left him. We didn't. That means something, but not everyone agreed." 2 days later, a message came through their long-range receiver. It was a priority alert from the Galactic Council. "Human vessel Sparrowhawk, you are ordered to cease contact with the Vork subject immediately. You are interfering in council affairs and risking galactic security. Turn over the creature or withdraw." The crew stared at the message. In silence, Mara stepped forward and recorded a reply. "This is Captain Mara Quinn. The being is not a threat. He's injured, intelligent, and peaceful. We will not leave him, and we will not hand him over to be locked away or destroyed." She ended the message and turned to her crew. "Anyone who wants to leave can. I won't force anyone to stay." No one moved. Dr. Chen said, "We came to explore. We ended up protecting something rare. I'm staying." Juno raised her hand. "Me too. He's not just a mission anymore. He's part of our story now." Even Hex, the robot, blinked its lights in agreement. That night, while everyone rested, Gorak watched the camp quietly. His deep eyes reflected the soft firelight. Something was happening inside him. Memories, images, things from long ago stirred in his mind. He dreamed of others like him, of tall mountains, silver rivers, and deep caves filled with music. But those memories were broken, scattered like pieces of glass. In the morning, Gorak did something unexpected. He moved closer to the humans' camp. Slowly, carefully, dragging his heavy leg, he crossed the shallow valley and sat just 20 meters from the fire. The crew woke up in shock, but Gorak didn't growl. He sat, still and calm, watching. Mara approached, carrying a tablet. She showed him images, animals from Earth, trees, oceans, cities. Gorak tilted his head. He tapped the image of a tree. Mara smiled. "You like that?" He made a soft humming noise. That day, communication improved. Gorak began using the symbol board often. He even learned to press two symbols together, like help and pain, to express more detailed thoughts. Dr. Chen began documenting a possible new language system, combining gestures, sounds, and symbols. But far above the planet, in a hidden orbit, a ship watched silently. It belonged to the Thraxians. Inside the ship, Commander Velen narrowed his eyes. "The humans are getting too close. That creature could be dangerous. We can't allow this to continue." His assistant asked, "Shall we contact them?" Velen shook his head. "No. We will handle it quietly." Late that evening, the Thraxian ship dropped a stealth drone into the valley. It moved through the shadows, silent and hidden. Its mission was clear: inject a tracking beacon into Gorak's skin so the Council could locate and seize him later. But Gorak heard it. With sharp reflexes, he turned his head and growled. The drone fired its needle but missed. Gorak swung his massive claw and smashed the drone into pieces. The noise woke the humans. Mara rushed out with a light. "What happened?" Gorak pointed to the broken machine. His eyes were filled with worry. Dr. Chen scanned the wreck. "It's Thraxian tech. They tried to tag him." Juno looked up at the stars. "They're watching us. We're not safe." Mara called an emergency meeting. "We'll double the guard, move the camp, set up perimeter drones. They'll try again." Gorak listened quietly. Then he pressed 3 symbols in a row: friend, danger, protect. Mara placed a hand on his claw. "We'll protect each other." The next morning, the crew worked fast. They moved supplies, hid their gear, and covered their tracks. Gorek helped by using his strength to clear paths and carry heavy equipment. He didn't speak words, but his actions spoke loudly. The bond between species was no longer a theory. It was real. By evening, Gorek did something none of them expected. He looked up at the sky and let out a long, deep call. It echoed across the valley. It wasn't a warning. It was a song, a memory, a voice calling out to others. Mara asked softly, "Is he calling his people?" Dr. Chen whispered, "Maybe it's not a call to others. Maybe it's just a way to say he remembers who he is." Far above, the Threxians prepared to strike, but they didn't know what waited for them below. Not just a powerful creature, but a team of humans who had earned his trust. And when the moment came, the galaxy would see something it had long forgotten: the power of friendship, the strength of mercy, and the courage of the human spirit. The sun on Kirin 9 rose like a slow flame behind black clouds. The camp had grown quiet after Gorek's haunting song the night before. The humans didn't fully understand the sound, but they felt it deep in their bones. It was not just noise, it was a memory, a cry of someone who had lost everything, and a thank you to those who stayed. Captain Mara Quinn stood near the edge of the ridge with Dr. Elias Chen. Below, Gorek sat still, eyes half closed, his large chest moving with slow breaths. His wounds were healing faster now. His scales looked brighter, and he moved with more strength every day. "We're not just helping him survive," Dr. Chen said. "We're helping him remember." Mara nodded. "And now others want to take him away." The failed drone attack had confirmed it. Someone, likely the Threxians, wanted to track or capture Gorek. They didn't ask questions. They didn't care about the creature's peaceful behavior. They only cared about old fears. In response, the humans had moved the camp deeper into the rocky canyons, using caves to hide their location. Gorek stayed close, helping them carry heavy equipment and protect the area. He had become more than a patient. He was part of the crew. That day, something new happened. While Mara was checking equipment, Gorek walked over, slower than humans, but graceful in his own way. He tapped his claw near a pile of supplies and used a gesture he had never done before. He raised his large hand, then touched his chest, then pointed to Mara. Mara frowned. "What's he saying?" Dr. Chen thought for a moment. "Maybe, me, you?" Gorek repeated the motion, then tapped the communication board. "Friend, remember pain." Suddenly, Gorek stepped back and lowered his head. Then, without warning, a strange light appeared from the lines glowing along his back. It spread across his body and reached his forehead. Mara gasped. "Is that telepathic energy?" Gorek looked up and something invisible flowed between him and the humans. Mara's head filled with images, not clear pictures, but flashes of memories. She saw tall mountains, glowing rivers, and hundreds of creatures like Gorek walking in peace. Then fire, explosions, fear, ships falling from the sky, screams, then silence. Gorek ended the connection. He looked tired but calm. Dr. Chen stepped forward, voice low. That was his memory, his world, his people. Juno, who had just walked up, whispered, "He's the last one." The crew stood in silence, realizing the truth. Gorek was not just a survivor. He was the final voice of a species long forgotten, a living memory of a race erased by war. Mara walked over and gently placed a hand on his claw. "We won't let you be forgotten." The next few days passed with quiet urgency. The humans recorded everything: Gorek's gestures, sounds, and even attempts at drawing shapes in the dirt. They began building a language guide. They created a memory archive, saving all Gorek shared with them. But above them, danger grew. The Threxian ship now circled the planet more closely. Commander Velen had grown impatient. "They're interfering with council orders," he barked. "That creature could be dangerous. We must act." A junior officer asked, "Should we warn them again?" "No," Velen said coldly. "This time we strike." That night, while the crew slept in shifts, a silent team of Threxian commandos landed on the far side of the valley. They moved with advanced stealth tech, their bodies cloaked in shadow. Their plan was simple: stun the humans, trap the beast, and leave before sunrise. But Gorek heard them. He had not survived this long by being slow to danger. He stood, his eyes glowing faintly in the dark. His large body blocked the cave entrance where the humans rested. Mara woke to a low, rumbling growl. She grabbed her light and stepped out. "What is it?" Then she saw them. Shadows moving fast. "Figures with weapons! Everyone up!" she shouted. "We're under attack!" Dr. Chen grabbed the first aid kit while Juno grabbed the emergency beacon. The Threxians rushed forward, yelling orders. "Step back! This is council business!" Mara stood firm. "You don't have permission to be here." Before anything else could happen, Gorek roared, not in anger, but in defense. He stepped forward, placing himself between the humans and the attackers. One of the Threxians fired a stun beam. It bounced off Gorek's armored skin. The next few minutes were chaos. Lights flashed. Warnings screamed. Gorek didn't fight with violence. Instead, he released a pulse of energy from his chest, a low, humming wave. The electronics on the Threxian suits glitched. Their weapons sparked and failed. "Fall back!" one of them shouted. "He's shutting us down!" The Threxians ran, climbing back into their hidden shuttle. Within minutes, they blasted off, leaving only silence behind. The humans looked at Gorek, who was breathing hard but unhurt. Dr. Chen spoke first. "He didn't harm anyone. He only protected." Mara looked up at the stars. "They won't stop, but neither will we." That evening, Gorek used the board again. He pressed 3 symbols: friend, danger, safe. Mara answered, "You kept us safe. Now we'll keep you safe too." The next day, the humans contacted Earth. They explained everything: the rescue, the memories, the attack. They requested official protection for Gorek under the Human Interstellar Rights Treaty. Earth responded fast. Within 24 hours, a diplomatic ship from Earth's Peace Fleet arrived in orbit. It was large, peaceful, and carried high-level ambassadors. The message was clear. Gorek was under human protection now. The council was forced to listen. News spread fast. Across the galaxy, people talked. Was the Vork truly a monster? Or had everyone believed old lies? Some began to wonder. Maybe the humans had done what no one else dared. Not just help, but listen. Gorek stayed silent for most of the day. But at sunset, he moved to a hilltop with Mara. Together, they looked over the valley. He pressed one symbol: future. Mara smiled. "Yes, let's build a future." The team knew the challenges weren't over. There would be debates, threats, and more: fear. But they also knew something stronger was growing: hope. The valley was quiet again. The stars above Kirin 9 twinkled like tiny eyes, watching the world below. But something had changed. The humans were no longer alone. After Gorek protected them from the Threxian ambush, the truth had started to reach the wider galaxy, and the galaxy was listening. More ships were now entering the system, not to fight, but to watch. Observation vessels, science cruisers, even a few curious ambassadors from peaceful alien species began to arrive. They kept their distance, floating high above the rocky planet, waiting to see what the humans would do next. Captain Mara Quinn stood beside Gorek on a high ridge. The wind was cold, but the air was still. Below them, the camp glowed softly. Lights flickered from tents and tools. Solar panels collected energy for their systems. And Gorek was healing. His leg, once broken and useless, now moved with care. His eyes were brighter. The glowing lines across his skin pulsed slowly, no longer in pain, but in rhythm, like a heartbeat. Mara turned to him. "You've come a long way." Gorek looked at her, then pressed his large claw gently on the portable symbol board he carried, around his neck. 3 lights blinked. Friend, safe, learn. Dr. Elias Chen smiled from behind them. "He wants to learn more. That's amazing." Over the next few days, the humans taught Gorek more symbols. He picked them up quickly, and sometimes he even surprised them with new combinations, like remember, hurt, hope, which he used after seeing Earth photos of forests and oceans. Juno, the pilot, was organizing data when she looked up from her screen. "The Council just released a new message. They're calling Gorek a subject of interest now, not a threat anymore." Mara chuckled. That's their way of saying they were wrong without admitting it. Still, she knew something was coming. The Council never ignored anything that caused this much attention, especially when humans were involved, and especially when one of their most feared ancient enemies had turned out to be peaceful. Sure enough, the next day, a Council cruiser arrived in low orbit. It was massive, gray, and covered in old markings. It belonged to no single species, but carried members from many. The Galactic Council ship, Vigilant Harmony, had come to take control. A message echoed across the valley. Human vessel Sparrowhawk. "This is the Council's official peace authority. We request a full scan of the creature and demand your cooperation. Stand by for landing." The crew went quiet. Juno looked at Mara. "They're not asking. They're demanding." Dr. Chen frowned. "If they take him, they'll study him like a science project, maybe even lock him away." Gorek didn't need words. He looked at Mara and shook his head slowly. He understood. Mara walked to the communication terminal. She pressed the button and spoke clearly. "This is Captain Mara Quinn. Gorek is not your subject. He is not your experiment. He is a survivor, and he is under human protection." The Council ship did not respond for 10 full minutes. Then, finally, "We request a peaceful meeting on neutral ground. 1 hour. Mara turned to her team. "We'll go, but we go with Gorek's choice." To everyone's surprise, Gorek stepped forward and nodded. Then he tapped, "Learn, truth, meet." They prepared the site on a flat plateau near the old mining station. Chairs were placed in a circle. A peace dome was activated, shielding the area from weapons and harsh weather. Gorek sat calmly at the center, his eyes steady and alert. 3 Council representatives arrived. A tall insectoid named Kira, a 4-eyed aquatic being named Larnox, and a mechanical AI called Unit 6. They walked into the dome, surrounded by silence. Mara welcomed them. "Thank you for coming peacefully." Kira spoke first, voice clicking. "This being, you call it Gorek. We call it the last Vork. You must understand, Captain, his species once destroyed 5 worlds in a war long ago." Gorek tilted his head. Then, slowly, he pressed a series of symbols. Pain, war, not me, peace, friend. Dr. Chen explained. "He says he knows there was war, but that was not him. He wants peace." Larnox bubbled, its voice echoing. "And how do we know this is true?" Gorek looked at the Council members. Then, without warning, he lowered his head and activated the glowing energy on his skin again. This time, he didn't send a vision to just Mara. He sent it to everyone inside the dome. Images filled the minds of the Council delegates. They saw the Vork world, full of beauty and music. They saw Gorek as a child watching his people disappear. They saw the fire, the battles, and finally, silence. The last silence. The end of a species. When the vision ended, Unit 6 spoke for the first time. The data is clear. The creature's memory shows sorrow, not rage, and his actions support peace. Kira paused. This changes things. The council did not apologize. But they did not arrest Gorek either. Instead, they left with a quiet message. We will review. The council thanks you for your cooperation. When they were gone, the crew gathered around Gorek. Juno grinned. I think you just gave them something to think about for years. Dr. Chen said, he made them feel what he felt. That's more powerful than any argument. That night, the humans celebrated. They didn't dance or cheer loudly. Instead, they shared stories, warm food, and sat with Gorek under the stars. It was quiet, but joyful. Later, Gorek tapped Mara gently and pointed at the stars. He used 5. Symbols, home, lost, Earth, maybe. Future Mara looked at the sky with him. You want to come to Earth? Gorek let out a low hum. Not a roar, not a growl. Something softer, almost hopeful. Yes, Mara whispered. We'd be honored. But they knew it wouldn't be easy. The journey was long, and the council would still watch. Not all species would accept Gorek. Fear spreads faster than truth. Still, truth had begun. Gorek was no longer just a creature left to die. He was a symbol, a living reminder that kindness matters, that friendship is stronger than fear, that sometimes the galaxy changes not through force, but through care, and it all started with one simple choice: to stop, to help, to listen. 3 weeks passed after the meeting with the Galactic Council. The planet Kirin 9 had grown quiet again. The winds still howled through its canyons, and lava still bubbled from the deep cracks. But something had changed. Something important. Where? There was once only fear and silence. There was now a story spreading across the galaxy. The story of the humans who stayed. The story of the creature they didn't leave behind. The story of Gorek. Above the valley, the human ship Sparrowhawk floated gently. Its systems were fully repaired. Its communication signals were clear. Its mission had changed. The crew had once come to study plants and minerals. Now they were preparing for something much greater. A journey home with a very special guest. Captain Mara Quinn stood at the edge of the camp beside Gorek. The giant alien sat peacefully, watching the human team pack supplies, fold tents, and load equipment. His eyes followed them with curiosity. His wounds had fully healed now. He was strong again. But more than that, he looked alive. Not wild, not dangerous, just alive. Dr. Elias Chen approached with a smile. His vitals are perfect. Healing complete, emotion levels stable. I think he's ready. Gorek tapped the board around his neck and pressed a symbol. Ready. Juno, the pilot, walked up. Earth is sending a welcome message. They've built a safe transport bay for him. He'll have his own space. No cages, no labs, just peace. Mara nodded. He deserves that. The past weeks hadn't been easy. The council still watched. From orbit. They hadn't sent more ships, but their presence was always felt. Still, the humans had won something rare, respect. Not from everyone, but from many. Species who once feared the Vork were now asking questions. What if we were wrong? What if they were not monsters? What if the humans are right? That question, what if the humans are right, was spreading across systems like stardust. Back at camp, the team was almost ready to leave. Suddenly, Gorek walked toward a spot near the cave where they had first treated his wounds. He looked at the rocks for a moment, then slowly pressed his claw into the ground. A soft pulse of light spread through the soil. The ground shimmered for just a second. What was that? Asked Juno. Dr. Chen checked his scanner. A memory signal. He's leaving something behind. Gorek turned and used the symbol board. Remember, here, pain, healing. Hope Mara felt a lump in her throat. He wants this place remembered, where he was saved. The crew placed a marker stone nearby. On it, they etched simple words in multiple galactic languages. Here, a life was saved. Here, friendship began. Later that day, Gorek boarded the Sparrowhawk. It took effort to make space for his size, but the humans had done it. The ship's cargo bay had been rebuilt into a quiet habitat. Soft floor padding, calming lights, temperature control, and a wide, transparent window so he could watch the stars. When he stepped in, he paused, then looked at each human one by one. He pressed the board. Thank you. Safe. Family. No one spoke for a moment. Then Mara said softly, "Welcome aboard, Gorek." The ship lifted off. Kirin 9 grew smaller behind them. Gorek watched silently as the planet disappeared into space. He didn't growl. He didn't roar. He just placed his claw gently on the glass window, eyes calm. The journey to Earth was long, several weeks through safe warp lanes. Along the way, the Sparrowhawk stopped at a few neutral stations. Every time they did, someone came to see Gorek, not as a prisoner, but as a guest. Scientists, peace ambassadors, and even children from different species visited to wave through the window or show drawings. One young alien child held up a handmade sign. "I believe you." Inside the ship, Gorek pressed smile on the board. Meanwhile, back on Earth, something incredible was happening. News of Gorek's rescue had reached billions. Humans, despite their differences, stood united in one thing. They were proud. Schools taught the story. Artists painted his image. Some even called Gorek the last peace giant. More importantly, world leaders promised to honor his presence. No cages, no testing, no fear. Instead, they built a sanctuary in the Andes Mountains, a peaceful, high-altitude area surrounded by nature. It would be his home, a place where he could walk freely, learn more about Earth, and live among those who chose kindness. When the Sparrowhawk landed, thousands watched on screen, but only the crew was present on the ground. The ship door opened. Gorek stepped out slowly. The wind was cool. The trees nearby swayed gently. Birds flew overhead. He looked around. Then he pressed his board. Beautiful. Peace. Home tears filled Dr. Chen's eyes. He made it. Juno laughed. And so did we. That night, a celebration was held. Quiet, respectful, and full of warmth. Music played softly. Lights lit the trees. Gorek sat near the fire with the humans, watching and listening. He didn't understand every word, but he understood every emotion. Later, he gave something to Mara, a stone. It was dark and smooth, with a glowing line through it. It was from Kirin 9. She looked at him. "What's this?" he pressed. "Remember, you saved me." She held the stone close. "You saved us too." In the days that followed, Gorek began to learn more human words. He used a new voice interface to speak through the symbol board. His voice was deep, slow, but clear. The first full sentence he ever said out loud was, "I am not alone anymore." That line was broadcast across the galaxy, and it changed everything. Species that had once feared the Vork began opening records. Peace historians rechecked files. New studies were written. Children asked questions their elders never thought they'd hear. Why didn't anyone help them before? It didn't happen overnight, but slowly, fear turned into understanding. And all because one group of humans had chosen not to walk away. Years passed. Gorek became a teacher, not with books, but with stories and symbols. He helped humans understand his people's music, their dreams, their values. He even helped design a memorial for the Vork, so their culture would never be forgotten again. Captain Mara Quinn went on to lead the Interspecies Trust Foundation. Dr. Chen published his life's work on cross-species emotional healing. Juno started a school for peace pilots. But no matter where they went, one truth remained. They had once met a so-called monster, and that monster had become their friend. At the edge of his sanctuary, Gorik often stood and looked at the stars. He knew others might still be out there, quiet survivors like him, waiting, hoping, and maybe someday someone else would do what the humans did. Stop, listen, care, because in a galaxy full of war, greed, and fear, sometimes the most powerful act is the simplest one.